Hi, everyone. I'm Donna Sacco, and I'm a Senior Technical Assistance Consultant at AIR. Thank you so much for being with us today. And I am really happy to introduce our panel today. We have Suan Trong, who you just saw in the video. She has graduated and she is now a career counselor at Central Piedmont Community College in Charlotte, North Carolina. We also have Dawn DiLorenzo. She's a special education teacher, has been for over 22 years, and she's a teacher leader in Union Township in New Jersey in a middle school. And then we have Jennifer Franks, who is the parent and advocate. And here's some pictures that I wanted to share with you of Jennifer and her son, Jackson. She's going to tell her story. I'm going to let each of them introduce themselves briefly before we get into the discussion. But these are some wonderful pictures she shared with me with Jackson in his school. And you can see from that face how he feels that sense of belonging in his classrooms. So Amy, you can take the slides down. I want everyone to be able to see our panel here. And for those of you for whom it would be helpful, we have all agreed to describe ourselves in a visual. So I am a Caucasian woman with graying blonde hair, chin level, blue eyes. I'm wearing a black colored button-down top. And I have a blue background behind me with the Progress Center name on top of it. And I am going to next turn it to Suan and let you do a brief introduction of yourself and description. Hi, Suan.
Hi, my name is Suan. As Dr. Sacco mentioned, I did graduate and I am in my first full-time employment post graduation. I am in my office at Central Piedmont. Currently, my hair is pulled back. I am a Asian American female wearing a black dress, and I have earrings on today.
Great, thank you. And Dawn, let's hear from you.
Hello. Thank you. My name is Dawn DiLorenzo, Caucasian female, blonde hair, wearing a multicolored top. As mentioned, I have been a special education teacher for, this will be my 23rd year. It's like crazy when I say it. Currently, I am working at Union Township Middle School in Hampton, New Jersey as a special education teacher. And this last year and this coming year, I will be with fourth graders. Majority of my career has been, it's probably a 50-50 split at this point between upper elementary grades and middle school grades, 5th through 8th.
Thanks, Dawn. And next, hi, Jennifer Franks.
Hi, I'm Jennifer Franks. I am a white Caucasian female, brown hair, glasses, wearing a maroon top. I am the mother of 2 boys. My 10-year-old has Down syndrome, and he is currently included in a regular classroom at our neighborhood school. Through my years of learning how to advocate for him and what inclusion looks like, I love to share that information with other families who are seeking the same thing, and I try and help them collaborate with their IEP teams at the school, and just, you know, help the team see what inclusion can look like and how far our kids can go with inclusion.
Thanks, Jennifer. Well, I'm going to start out just with you all thinking about the path, you know, as we discuss that. You know, we have Suan who's talking about in that video, and Suan, I don't know how long it's been since you saw that video, but, you know, to recall those kind of feelings and what suggestions you would have for teachers today to help students not feel that isolation you felt.
I think there's a couple of things to consider. I think on a systemic level is to hire people who have lived experience. Because like there's a saying, you can't be what you can't see, right? And so just having that person with that shared identity that grew up in similar situations, that grew up with similar challenges, and then to see them in a professional paying role does wonders for students and those, growing up. And then the more practical, hands-on suggestion is to find activities that everyone can do instead of an activity for most people and then have a separate activity, like a specialized activity for that's adaptive. So instead, try creating something that everyone can participate in.
Yeah, thank you for that. I like those points. And I see people, I was just reading in the chat that people are agreeing with you. Those would be helpful suggestions. Jennifer, I want to hear from you because I know, you've had, you've experienced a lot of different situations with Jackson. Maybe you can talk a little bit about what worked really well to get those formats in place.
Yeah, so we have moved quite a bit. He has been in, gosh, I want to say 2 or 3 different school districts, and he's going to 4th grade. And when he started kindergarten, I thought I knew what inclusion was, and so I was excited to have him in a regular kindergarten class. He started out, and I thought, this is great. This is it. He's in. We're done. Like, woo! And then I realized, as the years have gone on, inclusion is so much more than just having a seat in the classroom. It's having a seat within the classroom amongst the peers, not separated in the back. It's being welcomed in to share your ideas, to ask questions. Even though your speech is unintelligible, you're still welcomed to speak and talk. And what has been so fascinating to see from his peers is they have welcomed him so much that when he does get up and he presents or he asks questions, they, will say at the end, I think that Jackson is trying to say da 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 da. And they'll say, Jackson, is that what you're saying? It's a yes or a no. But I thought the intent of them just listening, just listening to hear what he has to say and trying to figure out, what input is he bringing to our discussion is so wonderful. And it's having teachers who, that was pointed out before, you have to be able to reach all students, right? And so when you have a child who needs more support and who is going to learn better with movement and hands-on activities and teamwork, it's how can we incorporate our lessons to include all children so that everyone is getting what they need. And the funny thing is that when I talk to other teachers about this, they say, it's not just Jackson who learns that way. All of our students learn that way. And so I kind of like to joke, why would you not want to have a child with an IEP in your classroom? Because I feel like that opens up the door to resources and allows you to be more creative to how you're going to teach. And I always tell the teachers, tell me what you need. You need it, I'll put it in his IEP. You need movement in that classroom, I'll put it in his IEP that he needs movement with whatever lesson. As a parent, the sense of belonging for him is, I don't even know I can describe the feeling, but when we go out into the community and to see, kids that he knows from school, to see those kids coming up to him and saying, not just stopping and saying, oh, hey, and then moving along. They're stopping and they're inviting him into their play, or they are coming into his play, whatever he's doing. He gets invited to parties, and to me, that just means a lot, because I know that these kids they're possibly going to be future employers who are going to hire him, or they're going to hire someone like him, or they're future teachers who are not going to be afraid of a child coming in who's different, right? Because they've been exposed to that. They know that they're capable of learning. So I get excited every year when we start a new year, to think of how many lives he's going to change, with the kids in his classroom and the teachers that are going to be teaching him. But one of the things that stands out to me is our principal, when we started in this county, towards the end of the year, he said, I just have to tell you, Jackson is the definition of inclusion. And he said, there are just some wonderful things happening down in that classroom. And he said, the other kids are learning so much from him. And I said, and he's learning a lot from them. And I thought, he gets it. Like this principal gets it. He gets it. It's not just my kid coming in and taking what he can. It's those other kids also learning from him and taking all those lessons throughout their life as well.
That is so powerful. Thank you for sharing that. And I was watching Dawn. She was just in agreement, because she's also a parent as well, of a child with a disability. Dawn, I just saw you glowing.
I was like shaking my head through everything you were saying, Jennifer. I was like, yes, yes, yes. And the comment too with UDL, so many people, I'm like a big fan of Brene Brown, and she has a quote that true belonging doesn't require us to change who we are. It requires us to be who we are. And I was looking in the chat section when you asked everyone to share about belonging, and some of the things that stood out to me were like relaxed and comfortable and safe. And I do in a way feel blessed, because having a child who receives special services, and what they call an invisible disability. A lot of children, with learning disabilities, ADHD, these are invisible disabilities that a lot of people can't see, and often look at the child and think like, oh, there's nothing wrong with her. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, I feel blessed that I've been on both sides of the IEP table. But yeah, I really was shaking my head with Jennifer, because I feel a tremendous sense of responsibility for the kids that I serve as an educator. And belonging does not always happen organically. And as an educator, you have to be intentional. This is probably my biggest piece of advice for educators, is to be intentional. And yes, we want friendships to happen authentically and organically, but sometimes we do have to create those scenarios for that to happen. And the biggest thing is what many people put in the chat, that sense of feeling safe. Can I be who I am in this classroom? And especially at middle school, at the middle school time, where many of them are learning who they are, and kind of actively, like a butterfly, kind of actively coming into their own skin, exploring their identity. Who am I? Middle school, yeah, we all know it's like those are the years. And one thing that stood out to me, somebody else put what it feels in the chat. They put to be believed. I've been on both sides of the IEP table and heard this. When a parent comes to the parental concern section, I myself have been the parent who said, my child doesn't feel like she has any friends. My child doesn't feel like she belongs. And I've also been the one at the other side of the table for a parent expressing that. And I've heard this, and it's a sad rebuttal. People will say, well, well, that's not true. Like, I see her talk to Joni, and I see her talk to Sarah, and I see her, joining in this. I mean, you could see me in the hallway talking and having a laugh with my colleague. That doesn't necessarily, mean that I feel like I belong. How many of us, like, it's like, have been in those situations where, you talk about the weather, which you did for the weekend, but that doesn't mean you have a sense of belonging. So when someone says, I feel I belong, when I feel I'm believed, believe the parents when they tell you my child doesn't feel like they belong. And actively do something about that. That's why my biggest piece of advice is the intentionality. You need to, group work is so important, but you can't just hope for the best. Put 2 or 3 people together and hope it goes well. For my, I'll speak from my own perspective with the invisible disabilities. It's that you do have to set up roles and expectations for the group work, perhaps pre-teaching and letting the child know this is the role you're going to take, rather than leaving it up to the other 2 or 3 kids who sometimes unintentionally end up just taking charge and leaving the child out, like, oh, I'll do it because she can't. I'll read everything, I'll write everything, you don't seem like you can do it. So yeah, I do think it takes that extreme intentionality. And everyone here seems to be a very huge proponent and fan of UDL, and I can't say enough about that. It really is essential. And everyone was saying not having separate activities. Even I thought about this year, like field day. There are so many wonderful activities that can be brought into field day, where the child doesn't need to feel like I can't participate in that, or like Sue Ann said, like I can dunk this basket in a little bucket, and that's my level of participation. We really have to intentionally sit down and prepare for those children to not be just included, but to make sure that they feel they belong.
And can I just say something? It's as a parent, it's okay if you don't know to reach out to the parent and ask, we're having this project or we're doing this activity, and some of these might be difficult for your child to do. We're reaching out to you. Do you have any ideas? I love when the teachers call me and say we're just not sure, and we make it work. And I'm always honored that they call and ask me that. So include the parents if you're not sure.
Absolutely.
I would love, the 3 of you, please jump in at any time and add to the conversation. Don't feel like you have to wait to be called on, or just jump in. But, gosh, I love watching all of the comments that are coming up as you all are sharing, and thinking about, just how much it benefits. And this is what, I heard this from Sue Ann's video, from Jennifer, how much this is a benefit for everyone, and that we're really, changing lives. I remember Jennifer once said that to me, Jackson is changing people's lives. And
he doesn't even know it. He's making big changes and he doesn't even know it. And it's so fun to see. So fun to see.
I would love to hear from Jennifer and Sue Ann, because I know personally as a teacher, I like to get this put into IEPs. As a parent, I've taught my daughter, and she's learned pretty well how to self-advocate. Jennifer, do you feel like your son, he's young, I know he's young, but that will grow his ability to self-advocate? And Sue Ann, do you feel that you knew how to advocate for yourself?
Well, I had to, because my parents didn't speak English. Childhood was tough. I don't know what having a parent who can advocate for you, I don't know what that looks like. So I had to navigate it myself.
so you were translating your IEP meetings for your
I
parents?
was. Yeah. So I am
For medical needs as well?
yes. So I am a first generation immigrant. So my parents are immigrants from Vietnam. And so they came over and they didn't know, they can get by with English, but I was the firstborn with a very visible disability. And so how do you navigate not knowing the language and the system to having a child who, like, I don't even know how they got the services that I got. It was a miracle. But I, on the flip side, I do like Dr. Sacco said, I grew up with very stereotypical, like, first generation child experience. So I would have to go with my parents to their doctor's appointments and be their translators and translate paperwork from a very early age. And that's very typical for a first generation. And on top of that, figure out how to navigate my school stuff.
Did you feel comfortable, Sue Ann? It sounds like you were shyer as a child. Did you feel comfortable expressing like, hey, it would help me if this was presented in this manner to your teacher? And I was also curious if did you have a paraprofessional with you in school, or were you on your own?
I want to say I had a social worker somewhere in there. I don't remember them. The teachers did the best they knew how to with helping me. And then there were some case managers that would come in and sit with my mom during the IEP meetings and kind of explain and like break things down in more simple English. So I wasn't all the way on my own, but I did have to do a lot of it by myself.
So Anne, I know you're a social worker now and that you have see clients, private clients, but also at Central Piedmont, I know they have some programs for students with disabilities as well, where they may have had, they may come to the community college with different kinds of high school certificates, or some with traditional degree diplomas. But I wonder, what sorts of, you're in the career counseling, and how you bring that life experience to that with the students you're seeing.
Yes. So in college, it is a very separate world from K through 12, in which the student has to advocate for themselves in order to get the accommodations that they need. And so it's very less parent focused and very more on the student, like you need to take responsibility since you are an adult. And so before this role, I was actually in another role in another department, and I was the academic advisor for the IEP program, which is a program for students with intellectual disabilities. And it was very much students came to this program and they never advocated for themselves ever. And I come from an IL philosophy, which is an independent living philosophy, which is you choose to live the life that you want to live. No one gets to make that choice for you. Sorry. And for people with disabilities, a lot of the times, the choice of how they should live is made for them. And with that, with the IL philosophy, it puts the responsibility on the person that it's not about your parents, what they want. It's not about what your teacher wants. It's about what you want. And how do you, how are you going to live the life you want to live? And I can help you, and I can sit there and help you, teach you how to navigate and empower you to do so. But I cannot go out there and bust down those doors for you.
And how wonderful if that starts earlier than college, right? Of giving students, empowering students, and starting from that sense of belonging, that they are then able to feel that comfort and welcome so they can self-advocate. Because I constantly think about transition, you know, so we start very early from Jackson in elementary and Dawn in middle school, but still thinking about that life after post-secondary or after secondary.
I was curious also, Jennifer, does your son have a paraprofessional in the room or a co-teacher? And do you feel like it hinders? You really have to be careful with the paraprofessionals, like that they're not, because sometimes that can exclude your child, just having that other adult standing next to them all the time.
He has always had either a shared assistant, and what that meant was in one of our other counties was he shared an assistant with another child who was in a different classroom. So the assistant would come in at the times when he needed it most. When we moved over to a new county, he was given an assistant full-time, basically. The first year she was there to help out with making sure he understood instructions, making sure we were transitioning from one class to, like, say, a special or lunch or recess successfully. And there to help the teacher as well. This last year, third grade year, the support was kind of reined back a little bit, but this is the support of a paraprofessional is always a hot topic with parents, especially in our Down syndrome community. And I tell them, just get one, like get one, because we can train the paraprofessional to know when to back off, because every day is going to be different. Some days the child needs a little more support, and then some days you can start to kind of go back, and then 2 weeks down the road you're going to have to go back in and do a little more support. So but it takes some training for that paraprofessional to know when to step in, when to step back. But that is the only way my son has been able to be successful, to be honest with you, in the classroom, because he needs someone to be able to sit there with him, keep him on task, not because he doesn't want to work. I mean, sometimes he doesn't want to work, but you know what I mean? Like, but they're able to say, yeah, keep on going. You can do this. Okay, you got that. Great job. Like, keep going. You can do it. And as far as the self-advocacy, I'd say we're seeing that the teacher actually started to see a lot of that this past year. And I can tell you, talk about belonging. He felt such a sense of belonging among those peers with that teacher. That teacher spoke his love language was dancing and being silly. He felt so safe there. And I think it's a little bit of maturity. He has an expressive speech delay, so it's not easy for him to get out what he is thinking. And so I think these past 2 years in this district, there's with maturity, with the kids and friends that he has made, with the teachers that have worked with him, he has felt that sense of belonging. He feels safe. He feels he can be himself, and boy, is he himself. Like, he is himself. antics that he gets into, the silliness, but they all love him there and he knows that. So he's been able to self-advocate for himself and let the teacher know, look, this work is too hard. I don't understand, or I'm tired. And she's had to learn too, when she can push him and when she's he just needs to take it back a little bit because he's having a rough day, or he's tired, his body's just tired. So that's self-advocacy. We've seen a little bit this year, and I foresee we'll see more of it as he gets older. And absolutely my goal for him is to be as independent as possible, for him to have his own apartment with a friend. We want that independence for him, and definitely will help him self-advocate for whatever he wants.
I'm noticing, oh, sorry, Dawn. I was just noticing some of the questions in the chat, and I wanted to bring those up so that we can address them as well. And a lot about self-advocacy. So, Sue-Ann, how would you teach self-advocacy as a teacher? Would that be a role for the teacher in the IEP process as well? So thinking about students advocating in their own IEPs. And then we have some more coming up too, some more questions in the chat that we'll get to, but let's start with that, Sue-Ann.
Can you repeat the first part of the question?
Yeah, it's in the chat there. So how would you teach self-advocacy if you were a teacher? How would you recommend teachers teach self-advocacy to students? Because there's always that chance of learned helplessness as well, right?
Yeah.
But we want to get to the other side.
I think there's something on the internet called like 5 steps to self-advocacy. I think if you Google it, but it just breaks it down to what it is, like identify the problem, and then identify people who can help you solve that problem. And then it's speaking out and reaching out to those people. I forget what the 4th step is, but the 5th step is gratitude.
And I think maybe the 4th step in there was like anticipating barriers, like anticipating roadblocks to getting to your goal. That might have been one.
I think so. That sounds about right.
Something that I do, especially at middle school, because you try to be a little more discreet. Something middle school students tend to start doing is with the in-class support teacher, they're like, do not hover over me. Don't be, do you need help? Do you need help? They can't stand it because, it makes them feel like they're standing out. I have made up little cards that are almost like business card size. And it literally will say, because sometimes I'll come over and say, oh, you need help. What do you need help with? And sometimes they're not quite sure how you can help them. And I've given them choices. Like, I need you to repeat this for me. I need you to show me another problem. I need you to watch, maybe it's math. I need you to watch me do this problem and show me where I'm going wrong. Just a little card to get with prompts to let them know, like, well, specifically, what do you need from me to help you get to the goal here? And the other thing for me, as far as teaching self-advocacy in the classroom as a teacher, is I tell my students that clear is kind. If you are telling me that you need to go to the bathroom, but truly you're doing this because you need to go have a break, I want you to be honest with me, because that's you're telling me what your needs are. And you're giving me the opportunity to meet your needs. Some children assume that people are not going to meet their needs. And so they figure, I have to tell you, I need to leave the room to go to the bathroom. But truly, that's not what I need. I need a break. I need to get out of here. Or this problem is overwhelming me and I don't know what to do. My own daughter has told me, I've asked for help and I'm not getting the help I need. And so sometimes I'm like, I'm out of here. I'm going to the bathroom for 15 minutes and I hope this problem will go away. So yeah, those are things that as a classroom teacher, I found to be effective. And relationships, they have to be comfortable to tell you the truth.
And I just, what you were saying, Dawn, just made me think of when we talk about inclusion and we're giving, kids choices as far as self-advocating for themselves. I've had to learn over the years too, as much as I want my son to be included and I want him to feel that he belongs, I also have to listen to him when the environment is just too much for him in that moment. And this is something that we had kind of happen this past year. You know, the lunchroom is crazy, crazy loud. And I wanted him to be in there with the kids and be able to talk amongst the kids. And, you know, I'd go in there and I'd visit the school and I'd see him kind of sitting by himself or sitting with one other kid. And then he got to the point where he was sitting on the floor and I said, look, what's going on? And she said, I don't know. We're trying to get him up to the table. We don't know what's going on. And I said, you know what, let's give him a visual, because he needs visuals. He needs choices. Let's give him choices, you know, visual choices of, you know, today I want to sit by myself. Today I want to sit with a friend, because, you know, I don't want to force him into, you know, being amongst his peers when all he needs right now, he just needs that break from noise or trying to converse with someone when he doesn't have the language skills in that moment. So I think that's important too, is that, you know, yeah, inclusion is fantastic, but that's also, we have to allow, you know, everyone to self-advocate. You know, we need to just step back for just a second.
Yeah, because sometimes we mistakenly believe that inclusion means go and join in with this group. There's 20 people, you know, go be a part of it, be a part of it. Like you're saying with the cafeteria, we've seen that this year too. We kept seeing a girl left out and we were like, oh, we don't want her to be left out. But when we spoke to her, she was like, it's too noisy in here. I can't, like she wanted to be alone. That was like her time to regroup. So again, that kind of goes back to believing the student and asking them like, hey, what's going on? What, you know, maybe they don't want to be with a peer at that time. Maybe they need that regrouping time. Great point, Jennifer.
Right.
There was another question to Jennifer. There's so many good comments going on. You know, please get the chat. There's so much going on in there. But someone was asking of Jennifer what your goals, let me see if I can find it now. What your goals for one-on-one support as your son transitions to adulthood. And I love that you said you want to see him living independently. So how are you thinking about that progression?
So for me, when I think of one-to-one support right now, it's academics. You know, let's get him through academically through the schools. Any of the self-care stuff we take care of at home. As he transitions into adulthood, what does that look like? You know, we have wonderful services here. We have a place called Gigi's, which is a Down Syndrome Achievement Center. And so they help kind of transition our kids into those jobs. I want him to live with a friend, you know, and again, those are my long-term goals for him. But I also tend to take year by year goals, but long-term, you know, I want him to be by himself. What will that look like as far as help? I don't know, to be honest with you. I don't know at this point how much help he will need as an adult. I mean, to be honest with you, right now, he runs our house better than our 13-year-old. He can cook. He's transfers my laundry over without me asking. I mean, he's pretty self-sufficient. So I don't know how much support this kid is going to need. We always joke that my 10-year-old with Down syndrome is going to be the one taking care of my older son, who right now is 13, because he just knows his way around stuff. He just observes. I've never taught, I don't teach him things around the house. He just observes. He picks it up and he just does it, you know. That's just also part of his personality. He just wants to help. But you know, if he needs support as an adult, we'll find it. We'll provide that for him. We'll, as parents, will always be there to help him with whatever. I hope that answers the question. I know it's kind of, I don't know. I really don't know.
Well, it's evolving, isn't it? Things change.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. It is.
Yeah. Someone said, I need Jackson to come and teach my 12-year-old.
I was thinking the same thing. 14, and oh boy, can I pay him to come help around the house?
He amazes me all the time. Yes, I'm sure my oldest son just gets, you know, tired of it, but it amazes me what he can do. And I'll just tell my aunts, go ask your younger brother how to do that, because he's got that down, you know. So yeah, he's a great kid. Like I said, it's part of his personality. He wants to help in any way that he can.
Someone mentioned in the chat, Sue Ann, were you about to say something? I'm sorry. Someone mentioned in the chat the PATH process, the person-centered planning. And I've even participated in that at the college level when someone was getting ready to graduate from University of North Carolina, Charlotte, where I used to work. But Dawn, have you done that person-centered planning?
Oh, I just wrote that down. What was that through? The PATH
So
process?
the PATH process, but person-centered planning in terms of, really developing a crew. I don't know how else to put it, and maybe someone else. Life course framework is awesome too. Someone said planning alternative tomorrows with hope. But
one of the other things I think our district personally does a really good job about this, but basically seeking out those marginalized voices and having opportunities in the extracurricular area too is so important. Like thinking about your sports and your clubs. A lot of kids are reticent to sign up, not knowing if their support will be there, not sure, but it's a great way to create belonging for children, and just making sure that that's also discussed at IEP meetings, like what's going on, is your child actively participating in anything, and even if it's just one getting their toe in the water. I know for my own child that's been important too.
Yeah, and as a parent too, it's hard, I feel like, to find those extracurricular things for your child to do. It's not only the acceptance of whatever you're putting him into, right? Like the coaches or whatever are accepting him and taking him at his level. It's also knowing that as we get older, we're not physically able to keep up with what our peers were doing, right? And then you don't want to place them with younger kids because you try and put them with same age peers. It's hard. I just signed Jackson up for acting classes because I thought he loves to be silly. He loves to act out stuff, but his speech isn't the best. It's unintelligible. And I thought, and this is something I talked to a speech therapist about, was it's so hard to find, because he needs that social interaction, right? We don't get that during the summer. And it's not like I can call up, say, hey, typical peers, could you come and talk to my child for a little while so that we can get this time in? And then the kids who are in speech therapy, well, they're there too for whatever therapy they're needed. And so Jackson just really needs those typical peers. And so I thought, acting, let me try this. Let's just see. And so I talked to the center and they're super excited to have him. And today will be his first day. I don't know how it's going to go, but I thought I have to find something fun for him where he doesn't know he's working, and hopefully it will go well. And I just want him to have fun and have some peer support. And so it's hard. It's hard as a parent to find those different avenues to help your child.
I love that idea. I'm going back to, because I'm still thinking about Sue Ann and thinking about having parents who are immigrants, and I really wonder how you could give teachers some suggestions of being, that intersection of language acquisition and disability and the culture. So being culturally and linguistically responsive. How can special educators or all educators work with families in a way, like there's stigma in some cultures around disability, and how to work with families in a way that helps them see what can happen in schools.
That's a great question. And Dawn, I'm not sure how you picked this up, but I was a shy kid. I was so shy. And I think educators have the responsibility of being culturally competent. So Vietnamese, Asian Americans, right? It's as this is a wide like paintbrush, broad stroke. But a lot of East Asian cultures are very community centered and very what we call like a very collectivist community centered society. So the rights of the individual are often overlooked in favor of to do what's best for the community. Now on the Western side, it's more individualism, right? Like pull yourself up by your bootstraps. It's about independence. It's about self-determination. It's about the self. And it's not saying that one is bad and one is good. There's just different approaches to life. And so one of the reasons why it was so hard for me to speak up was because I didn't want to cause a wave or rock the boat. And I didn't want to, quote unquote, like be a burden to people. And so asking for help was really hard. And I'm also pretty passive in nature. And
Not anymore.
I'm still, still finding my voice. And in different things. I think in the advocacy area, I'm really comfortable. I just started as a clinician, so as a therapist. So I'm still finding my voice as a therapist. But I think being able to empower parents, connect them to groups that are multicultural, connecting them to communities, connecting them to people who have children with disabilities in the same communities is really helpful. Or like being able to provide them with resources. Of course, like being from a marginalized identity, I did need more support. And so just having someone there as an advocate, like we talk about self-advocacy, but like having allies is so important because self-advocacy is tiring.
Agree.
We're getting close to the half hour, and what I'd really like each of you to do is give us, what is one big takeaway you want people in this session to have when they leave? Anyone can start.
Okay, well, I'll start. This is going to be a slightly controversial one, but one of my bosses told me, and this has stuck with me. It's very simple. People with disabilities are allowed to make dumb decisions. So, and they're allowed to make mistakes and they're allowed to fail. And one of the things that I really try to platform is dignity, right? Like I talk about the dignity of risk, the dignity of failure, and just giving the child the dignity to be able to fail and make their own mistakes instead of like shielding them from everything is going to teach them a lot more about life than if they were to be shielded and protected.
Great points.
Yeah, I love that.
For me, I just feel like I'll repeat again the intentionality, the responsibility that you have as a teacher to set the tone of your classroom. You really are, you are the guiding light in that room. And the more you can put relationship front and center and make it so that children feel safe to be themselves, and know that they can take risks in that room and be protected, that if if someone else is not respecting that individual, will be dealt with and not ignored. Yeah, that every person in that classroom is valued, and just understanding that these things are not always going to happen organically, and you need to be the one who makes it entrenched in the dynamics of your class.
I would say, as a parent, one thing I request from teachers, administrators, is please presume competence. Please presume the kids know what you're teaching. Presume that they can have high expectations. I think you'll be amazed at what they can rise to when you keep that bar high for them. Please include the parents. We love to come in and brainstorm with you. I love collaborating with my son's team. I don't expect them to have all the answers on how to teach my child. Parents will do the research. We've done the research since they were born. We can bring you lots of resources. I've given my team several books. I know there are other parents like that. We do want to help, and we want to offer suggestions, and it's never we are challenging what you know. We just want to help you so that you can help our child.
Oh, that is a really strong message. Thank you for that. All three of you, thank you so much for your strong messages and promoting belonging across all of our schools. I see the amazing comments that have been coming through the chat, and you have really helped so many people out there. And some of the people in the chat have been providing so many wonderful resources as well. So thank you to all of you. I'm going to turn it. Thank you. I'm just so pleased to have had you here today.